Tip number 1, do not focus on being aesthetic. Your focus should not be to get pretty notes, but to get notes that are efficient for learning purposes. So if you focus too much on being aesthetic, at the end you will not have much of revised content and you wouldn't have retained a lot of information in that study session. I know all of us want to have notes like those we see on Pinterest, so pretty, so colorful, so aesthetic. But you can still make pleasing notes while not focusing on being aesthetic by making it minimalistic, but at the same time a bit pretty. So making your notes aesthetic shouldn't be the focus, but maybe like a wish you could have, and like do it when you have the time, make it a bit more aesthetic. But if you don't have the time, you're rushing, please don't. Tip number 2, stick to one handwriting. I know a lot of people like me, they're never satisfied with their handwriting, even if it's actually good. I mean, not the best, but it's actually good. So stop calling it bad and like accept it for what it is, and don't keep like erasing a handwriting and rewriting your notes again, like the same notes, because you're not really being productive during that study session. Instead, just remember and keep in mind that if you keep writing, there's going to be a point where your handwriting is going to get so much better, like the improvement. So instead of like working on the same note again and again, just move on to the next note. Stop erasing and rewriting again, because it's not helping. You want to be productive, not always aesthetic, right? So it is kind of aesthetic, but it's more of like satisfying yourself and having that satisfactory feeling of having really neat notes. But it's fine if you don't, cause like your handwriting could be a bit messy and stylish at the same time, and just make it a bit colorful if it really, really upsets you. Yeah. Tip number 3, what you write is what you write. I know this sentence seems like it's just repeated again, but honestly, it's a very important tip. I do not like people copying their resources like completely or chunks of it. You could copy some points from your resource, but do make sure you rephrase it in a way that you can better understand. Use diagrams, draw whatever you imagine beside it, like doodles, so that you get to like retain your information much better, and use short forms that help you understand, use acronyms and stuff that will help you remember. But do not just copy everything or copy like a paragraph into it. Please don't. Make it into bullet points, easier to understand. Condense the thing in your own words, because memorizing this is not helping you understand, and it's very important you understand. Now let's move on to some note-taking methods. So I like to write horizontally on my iPad. It gives me more arm space, and I like to use grids because it resembles grid paper. And I like to stick with one color for a color theme. You could have a few colors that are either similar or opposites and have it as a color theme. You could also go to Google and search for aesthetic color hex codes so that you have aesthetic colors. And I want you to start with a simple header and not something too complicated like calligraphy, unless you're super talented and you can do it quite fast, because I'm not, and it took me very long for a header. And your aim is not to make a pretty header, but to retain as much information as you can in that productive study session. And if you think it's too simple, you could add some sparks, and you could like use a highlighter to resemble washi tape and just slide it to the side, hold it, and it'll straighten up for you. Then you write your subtopic in the main color, like the theme, using sage green or any color of your choice, obviously. And then you go to the plain color. If you're using light background, it'll be black or dark blue. And then I use a bullet to indicate a point. It could also be a hyphen. And then I use a hyphen to add on to the point, if you get what I mean. It could be vice versa. It's honestly your choice. Oopsies. And then for like examples or something, you could use the numbers to like indicate the examples. You know what? It necessarily doesn't have to be examples. It could be an exhaustive list also. So it's not really examples. So what I'm just trying to say is that list down your points with numbers so that you can keep track of how many points there are. So that like you know how much to memorize or how much to remember, like how many concepts are there. It'll be easier, but then again, it's your choice if you want to follow whatever I'm suggesting. So list using numbers, it helps. And the outlining method, as I said, was super easy. Like the way you write it and like the setup and the template is super easy. So you basically duplicate whatever happened here, like what I just showed you, until you have 1 page of notes. I'm not telling you to duplicate the same point, okay? I'm just showing you. I'm trying to say that that's how a page of notes ends. I'm not trying to say that you use the lasso tool and copy the same points and duplicate and put it down. Please no. You're supposed to put in your own topics and fill it according to your wish. So basically that is the outlining method. It is so easy. Yep. Now we're gonna move on to cornell notes. Honestly, I just found this out a few weeks ago, and I don't really like it because it's just how I type. You know, some things are just your type, but then again, cornell notes are they actually have quite a lot of pros. So I decided to give it a try. So basically, I would put my important terms on the left side. And then I would put the like what the important term means and how I use it. So basically I need to know how to use it, right? So that I can use it in the exam, because I need to know that important term. It's a key word. And examples of how to use it, or basically if it's like a meaning, you need more examples so that you can know how to use it, right? Or it could be a new word, like during English lit, when you're reading your literature book, you find a new word, you highlight it, you define it, and then you write it. It could function like a word bank. Yeah, so you basically write the definition on the right side and write the new word on the left side. And if you find it very hard to pronounce, you can even write the pronunciation below so that it's easier. Okay, so the next one is you could have a question, a burning question you've had. You could have asked your teacher, your friend. Friends, not that reliable. But like, yeah, some people are smart. So what they say might be true, but rather check it with the teacher or rather check it online first. Even online, you have to check like the sources. So basically what I'm trying to say, it could be a misconception. It could be out of curiosity. It could be a mistake you made and you don't exactly understand. So you ask a question about it. Or it could be that you did not understand something. It doesn't only have to be a mistake. It could be a part of the lesson you're still a bit doubtful of. It could be any other type of questions. So basically you write the answer to the question on the right side. Make sure it's like very detailed, because it's a question, means you are once doubtful of it. So if it's more detailed, it will actually help you be more sure of the answer to the question while revising. It could be through your own research, like a curiosity question. It could be something you did not understand during lesson, so you ask the teacher after class, which is actually a good habit, guys. Yeah. No. Or it could be anything else. Okay, there's a lot of more sources where you can get your answers to the question. So basically, that is the cornell method. I hope it was clear enough for you what is the cornell method, and maybe you can use it for something that you didn't know you could use it for. But the cornell method is not done yet. That's just what you have studied. And now below you put a line, and under that line you write your summary sentence or like a conclusion. Sometimes we have problems writing summary sentence because there's a lot of information to process and you're not sure how to water it down. But it's good to condense it, because during the exam you can't write redundant information in your open-ended answers, so it will quite help you with writing summary sentences for topics, if you get what I mean. So that is basically the Cornell system. I like the Cornell system because it can like cover the left side, and then cover the right side, sorry. And you can like look at the left side, you know the question, you know the answer because you studied it, you wrote it. So then you can test yourself like flashcards. So when I'm lazy, I like to take my notes on my laptop, because when I type it's much faster and I don't have to worry about my handwriting and like making my notes very aesthetic using my hand. So basically when I'm feeling lazy or it's last minute notes, I just don't have that much time left to my exam, I just open a Google Doc and start typing. I usually choose aesthetic fonts because I don't know how else to make it aesthetic, because we can't use our handwriting. So you can just simply click on a font that you think is aesthetic, because everyone's opinion differs. So it could be like last minute jotting down of notes, like you're looking through your errors and you want to make some notes for yourself to just skim through before the exam. So yeah, those kind of purposes, I'd rather encourage you to type your notes out than, yeah, you could always print out the typed notes if you need it. So yeah, it could be a case of like too many subjects to cover, so then you can just type your notes, because when you write, obviously it slows down the whole process. So yeah, and like some people have OCD like me, they just need to be perfect, and then they would stress too much about their handwriting. So I just advise you to use your Mac during times of distress like that. Yeah, you want it to be short because you want to retain more information, not like make it aesthetic only. As I said in the general tips, like at the beginning, I said that you shouldn't focus on the aesthetic, you should focus on the content. So it's a matter of time. So if you have a lot of time, you could take your iPad or take a piece of paper and start writing. But if you don't, then yeah, just get your laptop and start typing. And to make it maybe a bit aesthetic, you could use like highlighting colors or just font colors, because Google Docs has pretty aesthetic colors, like the pastel colors and all that. So you can make it aesthetic if you're willing to. And you can also use bullet points, spacing, whatever you do to like make it more neater and look more orderly. So it's not that when you type you can never make it like look good. Over here it's basic. I'm not really showing you the corner notes or aligning method because I showed you for my iPad already. I'm just trying to say there is such a term such as using bullet points and use an asterisk and then press the space bar if you want a dot instead of a hyphen. And you could also use numbers. One good thing about typing is that it will provide you, like, once you click the next one, a hyphen will just appear automatically. So basically I'm using some pastel colors to highlight the text, and you could do the same. And if you're like want more aesthetic and you think the font matters and you're not satisfied with the fonts that are provided by Google Docs, you could always go and head down to devfont.com, and there's some cute little fonts that are similar to handwriting. And do remember to rename your docs so that it's easier for future references. And if you use Google Drive a lot, like, make some folders for each subject, so it's like having your own notebooks for each. So there are a lot on devfont.com. If you see here, I don't usually use them because mostly I write my notes out. I hardly type it out unless I'm like super lazy or I'm super running out of time. I usually don't like write notes when I like last minute. I just read through my stuff, and if I haven't studied properly, I don't bother to make notes. I just read all my resources. So yeah, I don't really have a lot of type notes, so I don't really use devfont.com, but there's some really cute like fonts like Winkle, Creamy Coconut, and Sweet Purple, Lemon Yellow Sun, Winter Sunday. It looks like handwriting. Please Write Me a Song, Baby Doll, Lazy Sunday. Oh wow, it looks neat, and like it looks like you've written it, but actually it's like, yeah, typed out, and it's much faster and efficient.